Emergency workers are still trying to reach a number of people stranded in Hawke's Bay.
The Redcliffe substation is flooded, knocking power out to much of the region and making communication difficult.
And dozens of roads around the region are closed. William Tiriti reports.
As the sun rose in Hastings, so too did the floodwaters. Trapping these orchard workers, they used mattresses, cars, even fridges to escape the dangerous torrent. Eventually making it to the roof of their accommodation, where they waited and waited to be rescued.
There's just been so many people to rescue. So, you know, with the high rivers, the rivers bursting their banks and people being stranded.
Rescue efforts have been hampered by flooded roads and bridges and high winds.
Many people have been cut off and need our assistance. Helicopters are trying to rescue people but are being hampered by high winds.
Some taking matters into their own hands. This man jumped into a flooded river to save someone before being told to get out.
Just stay here, bro. Right, stay here, bro.
Residents in the Napier suburb of Taradale were also told to get out this morning after the Tutaikuri River breached its stock bank. Only utes and an ATV able to cross flooded roads.
Not good, all the fences are down, there's a lot of wood and logs and things all over the road, a lot of silt, quite deep too.
A tow truck was the rescue vehicle of choice for these residents from Rowan House in Taradale, delivered safely to a nearby evacuation centre.
Nothing we've ever seen before. Even the elderly have said the same thing in their lifetime.
Napier and Hastings cut off from each other and largely cut off in general. This video appears to show Brookfield's bridge washing away as the raging Tutaikuri River sweeps through it. Napier's mayor says the number of those evacuated is still unclear.
We don't have an exact number. Taradale is quite a large suburb, so if a number of them evacuate, then we will be talking, you know, the hundreds, potentially the thousands. We have had to stand up some additional welfare centres, obviously, to cope with that.
Also a victim of the Tutaikuri River, the Redcliffe substation, believed to be underwater, knocking power out to almost 20,000 people this morning. Transpower says limited power has been restored, but not enough for both Hawke's Bay and Gisborne.
We're in communications with Transpower, obviously. They have made a statement that it could be a number of days before power is restored. Obviously, we're sincerely hoping that that is not the case.
More help desperately needed for the region, but with no easy way to get it. William Tiriti, Newshub.
Well, our reporter Leighton Hakel is in Hawke's Bay. Leighton, what's happening there now?
Bridge. This is the bridge heading into Napier, and it is impassable because police and emergency services have set up a major operation here. There are army unimogs collecting people, and helicopters have been constantly going back and forth rescuing people off their roofs and bringing them back here. It's been emotional scenes, people wrapped in blankets, checked by St John ambulance staff members, and then being taken to either hospital or evacuation centres tonight. We've spoken to a couple of people. We spoke to one man who said he went up in the chopper to look for his elderly grandparents. He said the scenes were just devastating. They couldn't find their grandparents, but we understand that they were taken out in a jet ski. Now, boats have been going through this cordon, collecting people in jet skis as well, bringing them to safety. We understand that people were up on a bus. People were up on a bus because they were trying to ferry them out of the worst areas, and they had to climb onto the roof of their bus and then being picked up by helicopters. You can hear one coming into land now. This has been constant. They've been coming and going, getting whoever they can, however they can. It is just chaos here.
Leighton Hakel there reporting for us live. Tēnā koe.
Completely apocalyptic. That's how one Gisborne resident described the scene outside his house today. While inside their homes and businesses, residents were without power, phone or the internet.
In the last hour, electricity has been restored to some properties, but for others it could be weeks before they're reconnected. Lucy Thompson reports.
A region submerged and seemingly isolated from the entire country. Residents in Gisborne, Tairāwhiti waking up this morning to scenes of complete chaos as river levels reached record highs, surpassing those set during Cyclone Gabrielle in the late 80s.
Judging by the damage, I suspect I'm here for at least a week. I've never seen anything like it.
Like many, Chris Williams' property has been completely cut off. He still has no way of contacting emergency services or checking in on loved ones.
My parents live right next to the beach, and my sister lives in Sponge Bay, which is also notorious for flooding, so I've got no idea. And unless I get the kayak out in the pretty dodgy looking waters, there's no way I can find out.
Satellite phone was the only way to contact the region this morning, and with communications still very limited, officials say the true extent of the damage remains unknown.
We don't know what we don't know, and we felt that we had some blind spots, especially when it came to Tairāwhiti.
Leaving it to community leaders like Lillian Tahoe Ward in Tokomaru Bay to keep people informed.
I understand they've got a lot of communication problems in Gisborne at the moment. But as long as we keep our lines of communication open with our communities, then the anxiety levels lessen.
Locals are being urged to restrict water use, and the council says food and fuel are at critical levels. Emergency services have been swamped with call-outs, even as the 111 network failed in the region.
Helicopters are trying to rescue people but are being hampered by high winds. We have people trapped on roofs, and we are still in the process of undertaking full awareness and restoring radio and cellular contact with our firefighters.
26 homes in Tokomaru Bay were evacuated last night, and that number is expected to double again, with more torrential rain on the way. Gisborne Hospital is up and running on backup diesel generators, one of the few places in the area with internet and power. But for most people, it's going to be a long time before life gets back to normal. Lucy Thompson, Newshub.